Today we're doing pizza. And pizza is maybe more special in this house than it needs to be. When my wife and I got married, we had nothing in common. Well, nothing that is safe for a YouTube channel.
You behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
But we had pizza in common. I spent many years, high school through college, and even after marriage, working in a small town pizzeria, a pizza place that made all of its ingredients, the dough, the sauce by hand. We did not get anything prepackaged. And my wife spent a lot of time working at a larger pizza chain. And so we worked on commingling these skills that we learned to try to make restaurant quality pizza at home. There's some challenges. The two main challenges to making pizza at home are getting a good crust and a good sauce. The good crust is a problem because pizzerias have pizza ovens. Ovens designed specifically, usually made out of stone on its base and very high temperatures. And it's really hard to replicate that at home. We have found we can replicate it with this dough recipe and with a cast iron pan, so here we go. First, I use whenever I can and bake, I don't like to use volume measurements, I like to use weight measurements. This will be in a link down below. This is indispensable part of our kitchen equipment. But to a bowl, we add 8 1/4 ounces of warm water. This should be slightly warmer than room temperature, but not boiling hot or too hot to drink. So
I gotta pee. I believe he said he had to go pee.
To that, you add 2 1/4 tablespoons of yeast, 1 teaspoon of sugar. And I like to give that just a gentle mix to make sure it's well mixed into the water. Set that aside for about 10 minutes. You're going to want to let the yeast bloom. You will know what that is if you've never seen it before. You get this very frothy, foamy cover to the water. For our dry ingredients, we're going to have 12 1/2 ounces of all-purpose flour, 2 1/2 ounces of cornmeal. We do 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar. That is basically a pinch. And cream of tartar is just a very unique properties in terms of helping dough stay together. So that's it for the dry ingredients. Also, we have 1/3 cup of olive oil plus 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Once we've done the 10-minute bloom on the yeast, simply dump your dry ingredients in there along with the oil. Now, we use a KitchenAid stand mixer with a dough hook. You could also do this in a food processor with the correct blade attachment. Either one will work just fine. And for 1 to 2 minutes, you want to run, for us, our KitchenAid stand mixer until that dough ball starts forming. It starts clunking around the inside of that bowl. Then I turn it up to a medium speed or medium high speed for about 7 minutes. And this simulates kneading the dough as if we were just cranking on it here by hand on the countertop. So we do that for 7 to 8 minutes. And then we turn the dough out. Now, the dough could be, depending on your altitude, your mood, how much the universe is conspiring against you, the dough can be a little bit sticky. Don't worry about it. Just flour your countertop, flour your hands. Remove the dough from the dough hook, and then just about 1 to 2 minutes kneading it on the counter. And what you're looking for is for it to get just a very sort of smooth like texture on the outside of that dough ball. We roll that into a nice little round rock, a nice little round boulder, a dough boulder, and then we put it into a lightly greased glass bowl, saran wrap over the top, and we let that proof for 1 to 2 hours. And proofing is simply letting it rise, and about halfway through, at the pizzeria I worked at, we always punched it down and just let it rise back up. And so at about the 1 hour mark, I check it. If it's risen, I punch it down, and then I let it rise all the way up. One little life hack there is just oil the top of your dough ball, because when you put saran wrap over it, that oil will keep the dough ball from sticking. And so that's the basis of the dough, and we'll come back to the dough in just a second. While that's proofing, we can go ahead and make our pizza sauce. Now, The challenge with making pizza sauce at home, there's a million recipes and I'm sure they're all good, but our taste buds are used to what a lot of franchises are putting on there. They tend to be a little bit higher in sugar, highly processed. So we have found a couple of techniques to make really, I think, a very deep and rich, satisfying pizza sauce. One is just a good tomato sauce, right? And you can get one of those 14.5 ounce cans from the store. We can our own tomato sauce from our garden. That may not be available to you, so store-bought tomato sauce is just fine. But to that, there's one of two things you can add. You can either add a tablespoon to somewhere between 1 and 2 tablespoons, depending on the consistency of the tomato sauce, of tomato paste. This will help not only give it a deeper tomato flavor, but also thicken up the sauce. But what we like to do is take sun-dried tomatoes and grind them into a powder. Sun-dried tomatoes, and so it looks like it almost looks like paprika in its color, that sort of rich orangey, deep orange red kind of color, and adding that to your tomato sauce instead of tomato paste gives you, I don't know how to describe what an interesting flavor that adds to your pizza sauce. The second thing we do is roasted red peppers, and you can buy these in the store. They're typically packed in oil, and we puree those or chop them really fine and add that to the pizza sauce as well. So you get some very deep and complex, rich flavors there with sun-dried tomatoes and roasted red peppers. Now, aromatics we add. We add 2 teaspoons of oregano, 2 teaspoons of basil, and then 1 teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon garlic, half a teaspoon onion powder, and then a pinch of salt to taste. And what I typically will do is I'm going to let that simmer.
Well, I know that I'm in love. Well, the little wheels getting tired. I feel a fire, I'm getting a burn. Yes, I know that I'm in love again.
And it's going to start thickening up. And what you're looking for is when you drag your spatula or your mixing spoon through the pan, the sauce wants to stay in place. It leaves the trail there. It doesn't just simply fold back into the middle. And then you know your sauce is ready. Remove it from the heat and set it aside as we get ready for our dough. Now, I would also recommend just taste your tomato sauce, right? If it gets a little too thick, add some olive oil to it. That's a good way to balance it out and also give some richness. But you're also going to want to tailor this tomato sauce, pizza sauce, to your taste buds. A little more garlic, a little less pepper, crushed red pepper flakes for heat. All that's on the table, but always add a little bit at a time or subtract a little bit at a time to make sure that you don't overdo it one way or the other. So the dough has been proofing a couple hours. Now I've already broken this dough ball into 2 pieces. When I weighed the dough ball, I got about 28 ounces from this recipe. We use a 12-inch cast iron pan for a large pizza, and what's this, an 8 or a 10? And a 10-inch for a smaller pizza. So I weighed it out and used a 14-ounce dough ball in the pan. Now, I'm going to split this in half for the 2 10-inch pans we're going to do. And again, I'm just going to turn on the scale. 14 ounces in a 12-ounce pan. And my guess is around 7 ounces for the 10-ounce pan. Let's go to our unit of ounces. Yep, there's 7 ounces, close enough. Now, what you want to do when you take this out is we're going to lightly oil our pan here that we're going to stretch the dough into. Now, when you proof it, you're letting the glutens a chance, or the gluten in the flour to expand and then relax. And after lightly oiling it, I just drop the dough in the middle and I start working it out to the edges. Now this dough is still going to fight you. The gluten in there is still wanting to pull back together to hang tough. And I'm just going to work it the best I can all the way out as close to the edges as I can get it, trying to keep it as an even thickness as possible. And you're not going to get it all the way. The dough is literally fighting me here and wants to shrink back. But all I want to do is get it close And then I put this back in the oven to proof. Well, we use a proofing setting on our oven. You can set it in any warm spot in your house. I'll do it proofing for another 45 minutes. So in all, the dough proofs for close to 3 hours. 2 hours as a dough ball and about 45 minutes in a quasi form. Now we've already had one proofing, and so you'll see now as this one has been proofing at 45 minutes. It is more willing to work with me, and it stays now where I put it. So now I can actually get this around and even, and it's not pulling back on me. And that's the magic or the purpose of proofing your pizza dough. And any good pizza place that makes their own dough, they're always going to be proofing their dough. Now, once that is in a spot, and this will make a kind of a thick crust or a pan style pizza. Look, if you want to make it a deep dish, you just add a little bit more dough from your remaining dough pile here, and you can bring it up to the sides, and you will have a deep dish pizza. Oven is now preheated to 425. We're making a cheeseburger pizza today. So I'm going to grab some of our tomato sauce that we had already cooked up, and you can see, right, the level of thickness. We pull it, and there it goes, and I just kind of scoop a little bit on there. Now you can spread it around with a spatula. Where I worked, we had one of these ladles, and I just can't get away from doing that. And we just make circles out to, and I'm a little rusty because I'm not doing it quite so even, but we'll need to add some more. And you bring the pizza sauce out. I like to go way out to the edge on the pizza sauce, and I'll add a little bit more here. Just a little bit more, not much actually. That actually worked out all right. Okay. There we go. Now our cheeseburger pizza, we use high quality grass-fed beef from I say our friends at Butcher Box. They don't have any idea who I am. And the ground beef just goes in, and we'll fast forward some of this so you can see my excellent beef. What's this? The beef pinch method. The pinch method and this works for sausage too. This is a way, muscle memory. I was trained on this. I did it like this for years. And when you're doing, I don't know, 200-300 pizzas in a night like this, I guess you get a lot of practice. So just around as much. And we like beef. We like to put it all on there. Okay. Good to go. We like onion on our cheeseburger pizza. That looks good. We don't need a big chunk like that. Okay. We put dill pickle. Now here's the thing. A lot of places use dill pickle for their cheeseburger pizzas, but they put whole dill pickle slices on there. If you're going to do this and put pickles on your pizza, do Dude Foodie a favor. Chop it up, right? Almost like the onion. I never like taking a big bite of warm wilted pickle in the middle of that. So I like to chop it up so you get bites of it. You get the flavor of it, but you don't bite into a, what would I call it? Like a rubbery dill pickle slice. And also let them drain in a colander or squeeze out as much liquid as you can. It really helps with keeping the pizza from getting soupy. And now the cheese, we do two kinds of cheese when we do cheeseburger pizza. First is mozzarella. My dog, I guess, here's somebody coming. All right. Mozzarella. Then we do cheddar. And she's probably going to bark like crazy because I hear someone coming in. And then cheddar cheese. Right? This is going to be so good. Finally, it isn't a good Dude Foodie cheeseburger pizza until we add bacon bits to the top. There we go. Now this is going to cook depending on how, ovens are so finicky no matter what temperature you say. So I say 425, and right, in your oven it turns into a black char in 10 minutes. This is 18 to 20 minutes. So I usually set the timer at 15 just to make sure we're good. And after I judge it at 15, I'll set the timer for another 3 to 5 minutes and then pull it out and cut. So this goes in the oven and then we'll be back to finish it off. It was about 18 minutes. So again, we checked it at 15. We set it for about another 4 minutes and it came out quite nicely. Now, before you kind of dive into it, one thing I like to do is I like to take my spatula and I run it around, because when you put cheese out to the edge like I do, it will actually cook and bake to the side of the cast iron pan, and that can be a mess if you try to flip it out. So we just make sure it's ready to go, and then we trust that the crust to hold up as we do a dump. There we go. And I'm telling you, this looks good. It looks amazing, actually. Cheeseburger pizza, Dude Foodie style. You can have the old rocker cutter, which is what I'm gonna do. Now, as I cut this, one of the things that I love about this homemade crust is if you do it in cast iron, your oven at a relatively high temp, right? 425 is getting up there. You get a very good crunch on the outside of the crust. But on this pan style, you get a lot of airy chew. And again, the amount of time we took proofing it, both in a dough ball, but then also proofing it once we pushed it out into the pan, helped contribute to that as well. And I cannot wait. We've been letting it sit for about 5 to 6 minutes before cutting into it. I like to let the pizza rest a bit just to keep it from just reuniting after I cut. We want it to stay apart once we cut it. Now, I'm going to take a bite, but I'm going to show you a little cross section of the crust here and what I mean. So if I take it, right, there's the crunch I was talking about. And then here you have that very light, airy texture you can see for the chew. And this is just a very satisfying crust to make in your own home oven. So, here we go. You probably can already hear the crunch just from the crust as I chew into the microphone. That is such a satisfying pizza to make right in your working man's oven, working man's kitchen. The crust is so good. This is what we use every time when we make pan style or deep dish. We're gonna do other pizza episodes where we do a thinner crust, and there's different ingredient makeup to simulate what you would get in a pizza place. But this for pan and deep dish, I'm telling you, is outrageous. Now the cheeseburger, because the pickle was chopped up, you get the hint of pickle without big bites of pickle. The onion, bacon bits, and that sauce is so rich, so deep. I promise you, this is one of your all-time hits for 2021. You want to make pizza at home. You want to crush it like the professional pizzerias, the professional pizzaologists do. Thanks for hanging out. God bless. Until the next one.